Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Welcome back to episode 4, I believe, of Starter Set Saturday. A largely bi-weekly series where I go through the starter sets in my collection and give them a numerical score. The very first episode of this series did go over the scoring criteria and, the way that I handle it, the categories and all that stuff. So I'm not going to be repeating that in each video. We're just going to go through the categories as they come up. Now, with the first few videos in this series, I decided myself what I wanted to do the reviews on, but I want this to be a bit more of an interactive series for you guys that watch and support the channel. So, I put up a poll as to what the next review should be, and it ended in a tie with both the Starfinder Beginner Box and the One Ring Starter Set, each receiving 30% of the vote. So what I've decided is I'm going to do the Starfinder Beginner Box in this installment, and then in the next installment we're going to go over the One Ring Starter Set. So I'll do those two. I am still going to put up a poll as to what should be the episode to come after that, because it'll give me time. If it's one that I haven't really looked at in a while, it'll give me time to read through its contents to be able to help with the review process. So this week we're going to look at Starfinder, and then in a couple of weeks' time we're going to take a look at the One Ring Starter Set. There's also going to be a new One Ring Starter Set coming out sometime in the near future as well, so when that arrives, that will also be added to the list. But for now, we're going to set this one aside, and we're going to talk about today's subject. So, the Starfinder Beginner Box. This was the first beginner box or starter set, whatever you want to refer to it as, that I've ever bought from Paizo. Starfinder was the game that actually got me back interested in that company after really enjoying their work with Dragon Magazine and especially Dungeon Magazine. I didn't really get into Pathfinder 1st Edition because I was severely burnt out on 3rd Edition D&D, but the Starfinder role-playing game was interesting because it was kind of a middle ground between what 1st Edition Pathfinder was and what 2nd Edition Pathfinder would be. There's kind of sort of some similarities in the way that characters are created and kind of choosing abilities, and it was just sort of an interesting adaptation of the game, and it really got me hooked. So I ended up getting this beginner box when it was first announced. I pre-ordered it from my local game store, and Paizo were also kind enough to send me a review copy in the mail back when this first launched. So I opened up the review copy and did the review for that. And then when the local game store got their copy in for me that I pre-ordered, I picked that up as well. And that's been sitting as a sealed item in my collection ever since. So, a little bit of information here. This released in 2019, I believe, is when this came out. And it retailed for $39.99 US. The Canadian price was actually not too far removed from the US one. I think I only ended up paying about $45 to $47.99 for it. So definitely wasn't too bad of a price that I ended up getting it for, but the Canadian price may have varied from location to location. I was also receiving a discount because I was running games at that store at the time and was generating revenue for the store owner, so I may have gotten it at a slightly lower price because of that as well. But $39.99 US. So this makes it one of the most expensive starter sets that I have, or that I've looked at in this series so far to date, but we'll see how it holds up here. So I just want to see. I thought it had the year on here. Yeah, 2019. So this is, oh my god, that's like 6 years old now. It's crazy how time flies. So in this box, you get a 96-page Hero's Handbook, a 96-page Game Master's Guide, a complete set of 7 polyhedral dice, more than 80 full-color pawns depicting diverse heroes and aliens, 24 plastic bases to use with those pawns, 6 pre-generated characters, 6 blank character sheets, 6 player aid cards for quick rules reference, and a durable double-sided flip mat which can be used with wet erase, dry erase, or even permanent marker. You could just rub a dry erase marker over top of a permanent marker's mark, and it will allow you to erase the whole thing. So yeah, let's take a look at the first category here. So it is the production value, as well as the presentation overall. So presentation-wise, this is amazing. I mean, I love the artwork here. You've got the robotic dragon with the heroes attacking it there. You have the Vesk soldier basically leaping to bury his Doshko into the metallic dragon's face. If you've seen the movie Breath of Fire, is it Breath of Fire? Ring of Fire? Anyway, it was the one where I think it was like the dragons took over, and you had, was it Matthew McConaughey? And he was like an American, this big buff American like soldier leaps at the dragon with this axe, ready to like swing down on the dragon, just snaps in his jaws and finishes him off. I guess that's a spoiler as well, but anyway, really really cool looking art. I also love the just the sort of the sci-fi like computer display lines going around it as well. And again, the back of the box also, shows you everything that you need. It's got some cool artwork on there as well. And when we look at the production quality, this is a really nice, sturdy box, like nice, thick cardstock there. This has been pulled off my shelf several times over the course of the last 6 years, and it's not even really showing any signs of shelfware, which is really, really cool. And then when we look at, again, when it comes to the presentation, we'll just take a quick look at the player's book here, and then we'll sort of come back and do a proper unboxing here. But we got the player's book, and again, there's some really cool artwork throughout there. It's laid out really well, really clear to see. So I think the presentation, they absolutely just knocked it out of the park with that. So presentation-wise, I am going to give this a 9 out of 10, and that is not a score that I give out lightly. I think there's only going to be like a handful of 9s, I think, given out throughout the entirety of the series. So this one has one. The presentation and the production quality is incredible on this. Really top-notch stuff. So again, we'll take a look at the dice. So pretty basic set of dice, but it does come with the 7 dice, including the percentile die, which not all starter sets do. So that's cool to see that. You've also got your bases here. With the Paizo starter sets, or ones that come with pawns, they tend to have one base that's like a different color, and I'm not entirely sure what the purpose of that is. I know I've heard it before, but I can never remember it. So if you guys know what the different color base is for, you can let me know that in the comments below. But yeah, really cool. So we got the pawn bases there. This also came at the time. I don't know if they would still do it now or not. But at the time, it also came with a promo pack for the Pathfinder and Starfinder Bunchkin games. So, again, I don't know if you were to get like this set nowadays. I don't even know if it's, truthfully, I don't even know if it's still in stock, like in production or not. But I've seen stores that still have copies of it. So I don't know if they'd all have those, but it's cool to see that in there. And then we've got the player aid cards. So things, what can I do on my turn? Basic rolls, so d20 plus modifiers, the different actions you can take, and what page in the player's or the hero's handbook you would find them on. And then on the other side, you've got the conditions, which are a big part of, like, if you play Pathfinder 2nd Edition, you know that conditions are a huge part of the game, and they were a big part in Starfinder as well. So we've got the conditions on the back, along with the actions that you can take on your turn. So that's really cool to have. I mean, like, this is useful in the beginning, but these would always be useful. So this is something that's really great to see in there. We've also got some sheets here, just some, I guess, advertisement sheets. We've got the beginner box components, so you can make sure you have everything that you're supposed to. And then on the back is an advertisement. Before you go any further, read this page. I guess I should have had this facing out. So you got like the players, or if you're on your own, because this does include a short single-player scenario, like choose your own adventure type of thing, which I did actually play through on this channel as well. An advertisement for the Starfinder Society, which is their organized play. And then on the back is just an advertisement for some of the Starfinder books that were available at the time, such as the Core Rulebook, the Pact Worlds Campaign Setting Book, and the Alien Archive, which was their bestiary, or their monster book. All right, and we got the 2 different books here as well. Again, nice, thick, 96 page with actual titles on the spine. So if you wanted to, you could pull these out of the box set and you could have them just sitting on your shelf and you'd still be able to know which one is which. This actually is another reason why like the presentation was really, really well done. We've got our double-sided poster map here, or flip mat. And this is the exact same kind and quality of flip mat that you'd be able to purchase from Paizo. And one side has the dungeon featured in the scenario, while the other is just a blank grid that has some like, you know, metallic like floor tiles kind of stuff to it there that you would be able to use for your future games. So that's really cool to see. And we'll talk about why that's such a useful inclusion a little bit later on. And then we've got our character sheets. So this does come with pre-generated characters. We're not going to look at each and every single one, but just to give you an idea of how they are laid out. And again, this sort of goes along with the presentation. I guess I could have held off on the score for a little bit. But you've got the actual character sheet in the middle. And then they're all like letter coded, so you can, you know, consult like this section here is section A, so you can read all about that on the sides of the character sheet, and gives you everything that you sort of need to know. How to make skill rolls there with I, how to make attack rolls, you know, different the feats that the character have and what they do, the equipment, and if they had spells, that information would be there as well. So let's take, and then on the back you even have like a character backstory, so it really fleshes out like the iconic characters from the Starfinder core rules. So that's really cool to see. Let's just take a look at the Mystic there, because again, for like the spells, so it gives you like the spell descriptions as well as like how many spell slots you can cast for the day. So again, really cool inclusion there. But what's also great about this is that you get blank character sheets as well. So you do have options out of the box, and that's not something that every RPG or every starter set that I've taken a look at does. In fact, this is the first starter set of the series that we've looked at so far that actually includes character creation rules. So very, like, the norm tends to be just to use the pre-generated characters out of the box, which you can easily do, but if you want to create your own characters, you can also do that, and you get these 6 full-color, double-sided character sheets there. Really, really great inclusion. And then finally, we've got 3 sheets of the character pawns. So these are the cardboard standees that include not just everything that you need for the adventure included in there, but all kinds of other standees that you can use, or pawns that you can use to create your own like player characters, or to use with the creatures that are included that don't appear in the printed adventure because of, well, again, reasons we're going to get into here in a moment. So really, really great quality stuff that they have there. Again, I love the way that they've got the character sheets laid out. You know, you've got the little primer here, so if you're just trying to choose something, if you'd like to, and it gives you the idea of kind of what they're capable of, you can use that as sort of a guide, and the double-sided map, again, is always going to be great. So let's get into the rules quality, because that is an important part here, and I'm a little bit split on this one, because part of the rules quality score is going to end up going into the adventure quality, and again, we'll sort of touch on that here in a moment as to why that's going to be the case. But let's just take the Game Master's Guide off to the side here. So we've got the Hero's Handbook here. And again, this gives us your character creation rules. Very handy, easy to follow steps, which is absolutely fantastic. So we've got, this is actually our choose your own adventure, you know, to create sort of like your initial character kind of concept there. This was actually a lot of fun to go through, and again, there is a video of me going through it on the channel. It went a lot better than when I did it for Call of Cthulhu, let's just put it that way. But yeah, so we've got that, but we've got our getting started. So here's our character creation. And again, the steps are all well laid out. You know, it goes through everything very, very, you know, thoroughly, or, you know, not, I guess thoroughly might not be the right term, but in a very clear and easy to follow set of steps. And we've got our races. We've got quite a few, actually, again. So we got some variety there. We've got the themes. So the themes can apply to each and every class individually. So it's not like just one has to be dedicated to another. Like you could have a mercenary technomancer or an icon's soldier, or you could have like an outlaw mystic. So those are all sort of options that are available to you there. And then we've got the classes. So the classes actually support all the way up until level 4. So you can play, really, you can play all the way up to just before you gain level 5, before you would need the core rulebook. And that's really cool because you can get a lot of use out of this version of the rulebook. So we got the classes there, we got all the different spells and stuff that they can get as well. We've got our skill descriptions. We'll have probably feats. I guess I probably skipped over that one. Yeah, we got our feats there. A few pages of that, and then we got our equipment section. So again, you can upgrade your character's equipment, and actually I like this as well. It gives you an idea of which classes can use which like spell gems sort of thing, so which spells work with each class. So the mystic or the technomancer, so that's cool to see. And then just some basic rules on combat, a little bit of setting information. So there's a lot of really cool stuff in this rule book. So as far as like the base rules are concerned, I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. And I know I've been praising this quite a bit, and because there's a lot to it. But there's one big drawback to the Starfinder beginner box in that it presents a really simplified version of the Starfinder role-playing game. And in the Starfinder role-playing game, the core rulebook, your character has both stamina points and a pool of hit points. So stamina points are dictated by your class, and you get them like every level. You get extra stamina points. You get extra hit points as well. But your stamina points are depleted before your actual hit points are. And your stamina points can be returned after completing a short rest and spending, I think it's called a resolve point. And you can get all of your stamina points back. And they have to be used before your actual hit points are impacted, and your hit points return at a slower rate. I think it's 1 per level per day, or 1 times your level times your con modifier. I forget what the actual restoration rate is for the character's hit points, but you've got these 2 different pools that you have to keep track of. In the beginner box, you just have hit points, and your resolve points and your hit points are just added together, and that's what your character gets at every level, which is fine because it plays well, but it creates a bit of a learning curve, or a bit of, I don't want to say confusion, but it doesn't prepare you for keeping track of those 2 different resources the way that you have to when you get into the full game. Now again, like a short rest in the Heroes book, I think if you spend a resolve point, you get half of your hit points, like half of your maximum hit points back. So it's kind of trying to introduce you to that, but in the actual role-playing game, it is a bit more to keep track of. And it's not that it's, the worst thing in the world, but you're just not fully prepared for it. There might be something actually in the book about like upgrading to the player or the core rulebook, but I don't see anything in here, unfortunately, to kind of give you sort of a heads up as to that. So, if it would have just had if it would have just had both pools of hit points, stamina and hit points, like regular hit points, then this would have easily been an 8 out of 10, because like the rules are really well done, they're really clear, but it is just stripped down and simplified enough that it's going to create a little bit of a headache when you transfer over to the full rule set. Like, not one that's going to be like long term, but enough that it's going to make that initial switch over a bit more difficult, right? Because if you wanted to carry your character over from the beginner box to the role-playing game or the core rulebook, then you're going to have to like make some changes to your character's numbers, right? Like you have to change their hit points, you have to add their stamina points, and just it creates a situation where you're not as prepared for a seamless transition from the beginner box to the core rules that some of the other sets will have, including other Pathfinder or Starfinder, or not sorry, Starfinder, but other Paizo beginner boxes is what I wanted to say there. So it does have character creation options as well as the pre-gen characters. So it definitely scores a point for that. But at the end of the day, just because of the fact that it's not going to be as smooth as it maybe should be or could have been, I'm going to have to give this a 7 out of 10 for rules quality, because I want to be fair. That is definitely an issue that new players are going to run into when they switch from one to the other. So it's something that does kind of bring the product down just a smidgen. So that is the rules quality. Now we're going to go to the adventure quality, and this is where we kind of make up for, you know, a little bit of the shortcoming when it comes to the rules here. So again, the actual included scenario isn't super long. We've got, like, here's the double-sided poster map, so the side that actually has like a dungeon area on it, that's what the players use, or that's what's used for the initial scenario. But I mean, you're going in and you're trying to combat a robotic dragon and the goblins that, like, basically have come to kind of worship it in some of, like, the worse off areas in Absalom Station. So it's a really, really cool adventure. It is something that will likely only take you about a session to go through, maybe a session and a half. I don't think you would quite get 2 sessions out of it, although you might if you're, like, really beginning and you're learning the rules kind of as you go. So you might be able to get up to 2 sessions. I think our group finished it in a single one. But it does also do a great job of teaching the rules for the game as you're going. So the first area there has some encounters, so it gives you the steps there. So roll initiative, take turns, what you can do on your turn, then the start of a new round where you repeat that order, and then common combat rules for, like, attacks, critical hits, spells, saving throws, and when it comes to, like, death for, like, monsters and characters alike. Then we got, like, skill checks. We have a bit of information on immunities and vulnerabilities and conditions. So these little red sidebars are kind of like your tutorials as you're going through. So you really could pick this up. And again, I think it's called the Christmas morning test. So the idea behind that is, like, if you were to open this up Christmas morning, how quickly would you be able to go from unwrapping it to being able to play the game? And again, the fact that it can kind of teach you as you go definitely helps, and I think that you'd be able to play this within a couple of hours of opening it up and skimming through it, playing through the solo scenario to kind of get an idea for how the basic mechanics work, and then just reading as you go. I think within a couple hours you'd be able to be running this adventure. But what's also great about this, and again, something that is different from a lot of the other starter sets, is that this book, the majority of the contents of this book are all about running and designing your own games. So you actually have, like, all kinds of advice and guidance on how to create your own adventure, including a fully drawn map that's not populated or having anything there put into it, so you can do whatever you want to do with this map, but you can create your own scenarios, and there's some really great advice on how to do that. You've got storylines that you could roll if you want to do it randomly. You've got advice on creating encounters and, like, the encounter creation system and how it works, and, like, this part does a really great job of preparing the game master to create and run their own campaigns. And just, again, tons and tons of great information and different environments you can use, different terrain types that you can use for your adventures and campaigns. And again, your characters are probably only going to reach 2nd level by the end of the printed adventure in here, but you've got 2 to 3 more levels worth of gameplay out of the Hero's Handbook before you need to start using the core rulebook. So you've got some setting information, the Pact World system, you got some information beyond it, the history and the timeline. Like, this is an amazing introduction to the Starfinder role-playing game. You've got tons of great creatures in here as well that are not part of the published adventure. Some that are, but some that aren't as well. So you've got this huge range of adversaries to use for various levels, including like you got the Migo there, which is really cool. You have the actual like not sort of damaged version of the robotic dragon, that like the version that you fight in the beginning is sort of shorting out and has some issues, but this is like what it would be if it was at like full strength. And again, you get like tons and tons here, and even information on creating your own monsters. So where the Hero's Handbook had a bit of a drawback there when it comes to not fully preparing you to make a seamless transition from the beginner box to the core rulebook, the Game Master's Guide does an amazing job of that. And because it gives you so much great advice on creating your own adventures and the tools that you need to be able to do that yourself, I mean, that's a huge boost for somebody that's just getting into running role-playing games. So I cannot stress enough how great that that set of tools and information and ideas really is. So I'm going to give the adventure quality, even though the published adventure itself is only a few pages long and can be done usually in about a session or so, just the other sheer amount of information that it gives you to create and design your own games, your own adventures, your own scenarios, a map that you can use for your very next one. I'm going to give the adventure quality an 8 out of 10. And then we've got the final category here, which is the value for your price that you're paying. So again, $40, $39.99 is definitely not something that's like the cheapest or throwaway type of money. I fully understand that. So for that money, are you getting your dollar's worth? And I have to say, I think that they did an incredible job of giving you your $40 worth. This double-sided map alone, like this would normally be like a $15 to $20 purchase on its own. So that's nearly half. If you're looking at the 15, it's a little under half of the price of the box alone. And you've got this one side that's blank. And I have used this for a ton of games outside of just Starfinder. Like when I was running my Alien RPG games, because it's a sci-fi thing that took place in spaceships and stuff, I was using the Starfinder flip map. So this map has gotten a ton of use. I have run the scenario, so I've used the dungeon side, but the blank side, this gets an absolute ton of use. And if you have this and some dry erase markers, then you are set. Like, you really wouldn't need to ever buy another map, but, they can be really nice as well to have stuff that's just pre-done out for you. But man, like, this has been absolutely, like, I've used this a ton. You've also got the pawns in here as well, so, again, and actually, again, these pawns have also been very, very useful because I'm actually have been using some in my current Starfinder 2nd Edition campaign. So as you can see, there's actually some spots that are missing here, and some of these pawns are actually from the Dawn of Flame Adventure Path set. But I've been using the pawns out of here as well for things beyond just the beginner box. But you get, monsters that are not in the adventure, so you've got a ton of variety, a ton of usefulness for this thing. And I would say value for the price, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 as well. I think that they did a fantastic job. I think the only thing that would have made this better might have been like a little dungeon or game master screen, and that would have like put it over the top. But 8 out of 10 is, something that it's, above and beyond. Like 5 is the baseline. Like 5 is sort of like the minimum effort. So to get an 8 out of 10 is like really, truly exceptional. 9s are like very difficult for me to give out because I want those numbers to mean something. And again, I don't know if there's ever going to be a 10 out of 10 for these introductory products, but yeah, absolutely great quality. So this has an overall score with the production and presentation getting one of those elusive 9s. The rules quality getting a 7 just because there is a bit of a speed bump that you have to get over when it comes to learning the actual proper full rules when that comes around. That got a 7 out of 10. The adventure quality, mostly on the strength of the game mastering advice and tool set that they give you. That got an 8 out of 10, and the value for your price got an 8 out of 10. And the overall, as a result, is 8 out of 10. I think that's the highest that we've gotten so far. It might be, or it might be tied. I can't remember what my other other scores have been. But to go over like the pros and cons, we'll do the cons first because I don't like to end on any negative notes. And there's really, again, only that one con that I can think of, in that the simplified rule set is maybe a little too simplified, and it's going to be a bit of a learning curve, a bit of an adjustment period. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it is going to take a little bit, and it's going to have you changing your pre-made character, the character that you've been playing. You're going to have to make some adaptations to when it comes time to transition to the full rule. So it's not the smoothest transition like we've seen in some other of these starter set products, but it's still, like that's the only con that I can honestly, genuinely think of when it comes to this box set. On the pro side, we do have the fact that you have pre-gen characters, which do a great job of helping you learn the sheet and figure out, learn the rules as you're looking at the character. But you can also create your own character, so you've got quite a bit of variety there as well. And if you lose your character, like if your character dies, like you're using a pre-gen, then you can just create your own character using this same box set. And very few starter sets, I shouldn't say that, but a lot of the starter sets that I have only have the pre-gen characters and omit the character creation rules. So you have a ton of variety. You've got, quite a few different races and classes to choose from as well. So you've got a fantastic amount of variety contained just within this box. The advice on creating your own adventures, again, I cannot stress how much I wish I could have had something like this when I was first getting into role-playing games, because this would have helped immensely. I might have actually had an idea of what the heck I was doing if I would have had something like that to help me out during that period of time. And the inclusion of the flip mat with the backside being blank is going to give you use well beyond the contents of the actual beginner box itself. So even years down the road, if you're running a Starfinder game, you might still be using the flip mat that you got out of this beginner box. So there's value there that's going to stick with you for years and years to come, even if you're no longer running the contents of the box itself. So the Starfinder beginner box from Paizo Publishing, released in 2019, gets an 8 out of 10 overall. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think of the Starfinder beginner box? Did you end up buying it back in the day or even more recently? Did you get to create your own adventures using the advice and the tables and the tool sets provided here? Did you use that secondary map and fill it out to create your own stories? Let me know all of that in the comment section below. Thank you all once again for your votes on the post that I did for what will be next in the series. Again, it's funny that the first one ended in a tie, so in a couple weeks' time we'll be taking a look at the One Ring starter set, but I am going to be putting up a poll nonetheless for what the next video after that's going to be. So I'll be putting that up here probably by the time this goes live. That should be up there. So it's not going to be the next video immediately, but it'll be the one after that. So again, thank you all so much for your time. It really means the world to me, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, take care.